Dead Meadow, all the way from the States and in Australia as part of the Melbourne Festival lineup here on the back of their latest album Old Growth, which came out a little while ago, and so fantastic to have Jason and Steve in the Triple R studios with me. Welcome.
Welcome to you.
Good to
thanks for having us.
Good to have you back in the country. It's been 2 years since your first trip to Australia.
Yeah,
and
totally.
some listeners may well have seen you as part of the All Tomorrows lineup, which was in two fantastic locations, Mount Buller. What did you think of the whole event and the salubrious surrounds you got to play in?
I loved Mount Buller. I thought it was beautiful up there, and it was kind of a perfect setting for that sort of event. I mean, a perfect ATP setting. And then the island in Sydney was pretty amazing too.
Yes,
it's a pretty cool space.
Yeah, it's really great. Even though it was a tight schedule, we still got to see so much of the city or the countryside. It was great to get outside the cities and play in Mount Buller. Because a lot of times on these sort of trips, you don't ever really get out of the cities to see the land. It was beautiful up there. Eucalyptus forests everywhere, and the mountains. You could ride the chairlifts, so they would just take you up and down. You could see
the bands playing.
Yeah, see the bands playing.
The best view you've ever had of a rock and roll gig. Yeah. How much of that do you get to do, as part of your regular touring schedule overseas? Do you seek out sort of unusual gigs?
We have had them fall into our laps a few times, playing castles and things like that. Yeah. And I think because we're always kind of sort of rolling in sort of a small operation, you get a chance to kind of check out a little bit more. And yeah, it's part of the fun of touring is to be able to actually explore places. Of course,
yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense to be able to get out of the regular rock and roll venues, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It's hard to really pick what it is you want to see. But you just gotta be open to when those opportunities to go do something different, or play somewhere different happen or pop up, to take full advantage of them.
The live thing is incredibly important to Dead Meadow. I mean, I suppose most bands would say that, but it seems for Dead Meadow, it's particularly the sort of forum that you have shone in the past, and you come with a big reputation for your live shows. And so much so that earlier on this year you put out a live concert film, didn't you? Called The Three Kings, which a lot of people might not have seen. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, that's actually our last record. Old Growth came out a couple years ago. So, so Three Kings is the one that came out a few months ago, and that is a concert film with an accompanying record that's a concert and also has 5 new songs on it. So, we really felt after touring so much, we captured this great live show. We really wanted to put that out there, and it just happened to be that friends of ours had filmed it as well. So when we saw the footage, we realized, we could really put this together and make a good concert movie, and then it just kept growing from there. With ideas for adding, a little bit of a story, a little bit along the lines of "Song Remains the Same."
I was just going to say, it sort of sounds a bit like the Zepp classic.
Yeah. I think it's a little more mixed with some David Lynch or Jodorowsky, a little more psychedelic or a little trippier than "Song Remains the Same." But
so you went out and filmed some kind of fantasy scenes for it, did you, or how did it work?
Yeah, I mean, originally it was just sort of a document to the performance, and then as time went on and we kind of started thinking about it more creatively. Eventually it was like, well, maybe we can add some fantasy sequences, and one thing after another. One night of drinking we'll come up with weird ideas, and all of a sudden you're in a field in a robe, or driving a car around downtown LA shooting guns and stuff. So.
I love the idea of being in a field in a robe. You've got to have some fun these days, don't you? There's not enough fun in rock and roll. Yeah,
well, it was a lot of fun, and it was just cool being in LA and meeting the people we knew that we could actually make this thing happen on close to no budget, and there's such talented people that were there that were willing to do it, that we really, I don't know if you've seen it, but it really turned out really good, better than I could have imagined.
I haven't seen it, but now that you've told me about being in a robe, I will make sure I check it out. Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about you and the sort of the way the band is at the moment. That over the last 10 years, that you're at a point where you feel so confident that you can put out a live album to sort of document, the place that you've come to. Does it take a lot of sort of confidence to be able to pull off that sort of thing, a live concert film?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just seemed a natural thing for us to do, when we had it. And, we have heard over the years, too, that people that like the albums, but they miss the energy of the live show. So having captured it, we were like, well, let's put this out there, and then...
Yeah, it was really answering what fans have kind of wanted for a while.
Right.
And I feel this day, it's hard to get people to get really interested in albums and records too, which is where the whole concept of, let's do this album. It has live, it has new songs, it has a DVD that comes with it. Like if you buy the vinyl or the CD, it has the DVD inside as well. So just to kind of make a really big package of something that would be like more than just a CD, you know, something that, see if we could.
The tradition of psychedelic rock and roll, though, is one very much born out of the kind of live showcase, isn't it? That's where you get to do your thing, to extend the songs, to totally jam and do all of that stuff.
You get into your Hawkwind moments.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Does it require a certain discipline to actually record in the studio to sort of bring that essence of Dead Meadow down to, you know, what you capture on an album, I guess?
Well, I think you know, the nature of our band, the way we've always done it, is very similar to live in a way. I mean, a lot of times we've just kind of gone into the studio and like sort of played and kind of took it from there. I think it's when you start getting into overdubbing and into that element, it sort of becomes a different mindset. And it's interesting how you can kind of take a song, the live version, and kind of add bits and pieces, and it totally becomes something different.
I think we've definitely gotten better at capturing something closer to the live show. You know, now we have a studio in LA, and Steve's definitely got a lot better at recording it, and just having the leisure to be able to not be stressed about, you know, we got to get this take. Oh, we didn't get it. You know, you're spending money. We got to keep playing it. To be able to try a song once or twice and just leave it, and maybe try it the next day or try next time we come back. You know, because I really like that energy of that spontaneity really goes away if you're playing a song over and over again, trying to play it correctly. You know, it becomes something stale. You know, we're really, for us, gonna have to capture it on the first take or second take, otherwise. Best to leave it alone for a while.
Yes, you've played as a 3-piece and a 4-piece, haven't you? You're currently a 3-piece. What's the difference for you?
I don't know. The 4th piece was a long time ago in a way. I can barely remember exactly how it was.
The 3-piece definitely leaves room for, you know, all of us, each one of us, to be able to fully, you know, do your thing, to go off in whatever direction you want to go in. You know, I definitely enjoyed the 4-piece. You get some really cool textures, you know, with the 2 guitars, but it's definitely a little bit less free. You know, you'd have more freedom when it's just guitar, bass, and drums. Each person has kind of their own sonic spectrum to work with. Yes,
and you've had a lineup change recently, haven't you? Your original drummer is back in the band. So what's going on there?
You know, Steve McCarty he played with us for the last 8 years, and he's amazing. You know, amazing drummer. And I think he just got to the point in his life, especially after the last tour was really long, where, you know, he felt it's time for moving on to do something else. And it worked out really great because we had been talking to our original drummer, you know, and knew that he was looking to play, or, you know, that he was around. And when we mentioned to him, he was really excited, you know. And it's cool. It's funny how the first show we did actually was out in the desert in L.A., and he flew out basically the day before. We hadn't played in 8 years, and so it was like we could run through the songs once and we got to leave. And then, you know, it's funny how you fall back into it, though. That turned out, and all, you know, he still had it together.
3 triple.
I guess sometime when Andrew was in L.A., I think the rest of the band quit on him. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, he was pretty much just Andrew left, and they were looking to try to find like a band to play on the record, and we had been friends with them and known them for a while from back some years earlier and played shows with them then, and they kind of contacted us, and we went in the studio and started kind of just jamming. Nothing ever really came of it, but there's some sort of demoing sort of stuff that was done live, and then eventually this ended up being the song that was on this album.
So it ended up getting played by the new Wolf Mother lineup, yeah?
Yeah, all of a sudden we got an email where it was, this is from Andrew. It's been brought to my attention that this new song, Pilgrim, bears a strong resemblance to everything that's going on, you know. If that's all right, you know, we could split whatever money was generated, you know. So it's cool, you know, more people, it says on the record, you know, that song that you know, gives Dead Meadow the credit too, so it's cool. I figure it was a way to get more people out to hear into Dead Meadow, you know.
Absolutely. So it's cool. Yeah, especially if he's talking you up.
Yeah, you know, so definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, now the weirdest thing is like an old friend of ours is now playing drums with them. It's like the weirdest small world.
It's wheels within wheels, isn't it?
Small world connections with those guys.
You recently moved a couple of years ago to Los Angeles from DC, where the band originally formed. Can you tell us a little bit about the early days of Dead Meadow? Were you, as I understand it, Joe Lally from Fugazi was fairly instrumental in releasing your first album. Were you kind of a part of that whole sort of Discord, sort of straight edge punk scene around Fugazi?
Not at all, really.
Well, we grew up. I mean, we all loved Fugazi in high school, and would go to all the shows and everything, you know. But starting Dead Meadow was actually kind of when, for all of us, we're like, man, I've heard so much of this type of music, so many bands that sound like Fugazi. Like, we gotta do something different, you know. And like, I want to do something just more laid back and stoned out, psychedelic, you know, more like music that got us so excited when you first got into music, like Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix. And it was cool because they were the first people, Fugazi and all them, that really got behind it too. I think they were as excited to hear something new coming from DC. So then from that, they definitely helped us out, a lot. And Joe was always into heavier music, and he put out records by The Obsessed and other heavy DC bands. So
yeah, we always thought we were sort of like the anti-DC band or something at that time, and we ended up getting support from like the biggest of the DC bands.
Yes.
But I mean, I think it was just so different from like the usual stuff that was going on at the time with the whole post-punk thing, and it was just like, oh, this is cool, this is exciting, this is kind of pushing the element in a different way.
You must have been out on your own a little bit in DC at the time in terms of bands playing sort of the gamut of influences that you draw on.
We played on a lot of metal shows,
right?
A lot of stuff really far from our band.
It went either way. Yeah, it was you either grouped with really heavy metal bands or bands that were in like the punk, post-punk kind of emo tradition. There wasn't really any middle ground at the time. Like now, there's a lot more bands that are doing this kind of psychedelic rock that has more melody to it. But then it was definitely there's just those two extremes, and those two worlds were so different. Like the type of shows, and it's funny.
Well, I mean, punk music traditionally sort of eschews musicianship in a sense for style, doesn't it? Whereas what you're doing is very much about the ability to play really well and, obviously have a bit of a punk spirit about it. But
yeah, it was funny. The first time we ever met the Black Mountain guys, they were in a band called Jerk with a Bomb that was like a punk rock band that opened up for us in a house party in D.C. It was just like a weird time then.
Yes.
Things have changed.
Yeah, well, I think D.C., all the bands were also pretty... very into their musicianship,
Yes.
Fugazi, of course.
Yeah, of course,
even though they're punk and it's all these punk ideals, they're such great musicians that, definitely that element carried through too. And just growing up with them and being like, wow, you can't just go out, do whatever kind of band you want and do it as well as you can, and people are going to respond. That's kind of, I think, what we took most from the DC scene. Just that these bands just made such far out music and just knew what they wanted to do and did it.
Yeah, well, Fugazi were a dance band as much as anything else, really, weren't they?
Totally.
Are they ever going to play again? Do you think?
It would be fun if they did. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think it could happen eventually.
Yes. You're often pegged as a stoner rock band, and I suppose you find yourselves on various bills like that as well. But it seems to me that that title in itself is fairly limiting in terms of the spread of kind of influences that you've drawn on over the years.
Yeah, I've always thought of us more of like just a rock band. Like to me, it was always like. We were like really into like Zeppelin, T-Rex, and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I never really considered those guys a stoner rock band, but maybe
just
people
stoned.
do.
Yeah, exactly.
They just got stoned.
We're a stoned rock band, yeah.
Like the Wailers.
Yeah, well, I think that term has dropped away over the years, which is cool. Especially as we put out more records, and we've had a greater variety of different kind of stuff coming out. I think people have been like, okay, they're kind of used to it, that just being a Dead Meadow thing, which is really nice.
Yes, yeah, and you've used a variety of sort of instrumentation at times on the albums. What have you sort of brought with you in Australia? Are we going to see any sitar playing here?
No, we usually keep it pretty straight: guitar, bass, and drums. And on the records too. We'll throw in little bits of stuff like that for color here and there. But I think what is coolest about this band is that there's just the three of us and. With guitar, bass, and drums, and the amount of sound and energy and vibe you can put up with just those instruments, which is kind of what always blow my mind about, seeing old Black Sabbath videos or Led Zeppelin videos, and Hendrix, where it was just this three-piece, and there's just so much sound coming out, such a huge sonic spectrum.
Yes.
Next time we'll bring our mandolins.
Excellent. And what of a new album? You put out some new songs, as you said, on the Three Kings thing. What are the plans for another studio-based release?
Well, we're going to have when we get back, we're starting to record. It's going to be with Mark, so interesting to see what's going to happen with that. I also got a plug. Just last month, there was actually, I put out a solo record that came out on TP Records.
Now, I heard that was an acoustic thing.
Yeah, and so that's mellow, so it's a very different thing than Dead Meadow. But, so did have that come out. But now, when we get back, we're starting to work on a new Dead Meadow thing. And
what's your acoustic album, or your solo album called, Jason?
Just called Jason Simon, self-titled.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
And, it's very stripped down. It just started from wanting to play shows and not move any gear, to being like, oh man, it's this Dead Meadow, we want to set up so much stuff and have this huge wall of sound. So it's kind of the challenge of it to be like, oh, I wonder if we could just throw a guitar in the back and make something happen like that.
Yeah, something simple. Do you write acoustically and then take it to the band, or how's it work?
Yeah, with Dead Meadow songs, they come from all different ways. Some songs might start off with like something I was playing acoustically. Some songs come out from a riff that Steve started, or sometimes we just jam and songs come up that way, you know. So
at some point in the future there'll be a new album, maybe next year?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Excellent. Jason and Steve from Dead Meadow, thanks for your company here on Triple R this afternoon.